In this video, we are going to start building our websites. So since this is our first full project in this course, and just to keep our course well structured, I'm going to go to my desktop and create a new folder that I'm going to call websites. Okay, so inside this folder, we're going to create a new folder for every full projects we're going to be doing later on. Okay, so for our maths website, I'm going to create a folder and I'm going to call it one maths website. Okay, and I'm going to add HTML and CSS since we're going to be practicing HTML and CSS building this website. Okay, so I'm going to open this folder using brackets. Okay, and then I'm going to create a new HTML file for our website and call it index.html. Okay, so now we are ready to create our page from scratch. Okay, and just for clarity, I'm going to be writing code in full width, okay, so that we have proper indentation and everything. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to scale this so that the top half of my screen is code, okay, and the other half shows our website. Alright, now let's start building our page from scratch. So first of all, we are going to define a doc type for our page, and we're going to set that to HTML referring to HTML5. Okay, and then we are going to define our HTML elements, and inside it we are going to have our head elements and then our body elements. Okay. Okay, so inside the head elements, we're going to place a few meta elements there. Okay, so let's start with the character encoding. So we're going to need the meta tag, and then inside the tag, we're going to have the attribute character set, and we'll set that to UTF-8. Okay, and the meta is a self-enclosing tag, so we don't need a close tag. And then we're going to need the title for our website. Okay. And let's call it maths website, as we see there. Okay. And then we are going to add a viewport meta element. Okay. So inside the meta tag, we're gonna place a name for the meta element, which is going to be viewport. And then inside the content attributes, we are going to place a few properties. So first, we're going to set the width, okay, to the device width. Okay, so the width property is going to control the size of our viewports. Okay, and we're setting that to the width of the screen, and that's going to be in CSS pixels at a scale of 100%. All right, we can add other properties. So let's set the initial scale to 1, and this means that the initial zoom level of our website is going to be 1. Okay, and finally, let's allow the user to zoom in and zoom out by setting the user scalable property to yes. Okay. Alright, now let's move to the body element of our page and place the HTML components in there. So if we have a quick look at our page, we will notice that all the HTML components, they are placed inside some kind of a container. Okay? And this container is centered in the page, and it's got some left-hand side and right-hand side margins. Okay? So we're going to start by creating this container, and then we are going to move to the HTML components inside it. So our container is going to be a div, and let's give it an ID container. Okay, and now we are going to style our container so that it's centered in the page and it's got some left-hand side and right-hand side margin. So we've got a couple of ways to do this. So we can either create a style elements inside the head elements, like we did before, and start doing our styling. Otherwise, I'm going to choose the external CSS for this example. I'm going to create a CSS file, okay, and then inside the CSS file, we are going to place all our styling. Okay, so let's go for this way of doing. So I'm going to create a new file and call it styling.css. Okay, and now we need to link our index.html page to this CSS file using a link element inside the head element. Okay, so we need to give it a relationship of styling sheet, and also we need an href for this to link it to our styling.css file. Okay, and now we can add styling inside this styling file. Okay, so we can go ahead and style our container div. So since we are using the ID, it's going to be number sign followed by the ID of our element, which is container, and then inside curly brackets we're going to have all our styling. Okay, there is another way of doing this. Since we're using brackets, we can just go to the container element, okay, and place our cursor on the ID attributes, and then by clicking on Control E, you will see a new window appearing there. Okay, this is the CSS window corresponding to this element, okay, or the ID container. So we don't have any rule at the moment, but if we click on new rule, then this is going to create a new line on our styling.css file, and we can check it. So we've got a new line there, okay, and we can style our element using this window. Okay, so let's add some styling there. So let's start with the width. Okay, and first of all, let's just have our live preview for the page we are building. So at the moment we have a blank page. Okay, so we want the width of our container element to be, well, let's go for 800 pixels. Let's see how it looks like. Okay, so we're not going to see it because we don't have any elements inside it, and also it doesn't have any borders or any background color. So let's give it some border styling, and let's give it a width of 1 pixel and a solid style. Okay, and let's give it some gray color. Okay, so now we can see our container there. So it's it doesn't have any height at the moment, okay, because there are no elements inside it, but we can try to give it a height so that we can see it. So let's give it a height of 100 pixels, and that's our container. So we want our container to be in the center of the page. So there is a nice way of doing that is by using the margin attribute, okay, or the margin property. So we're gonna give it 0 for the top side and the bottom side, and for the left hand side and the right hand side we're gonna go for auto so that it's centered. And now we can see that our container now is centered in the page. Okay, so you want the container to be this big. Okay, so it looks like 800 pixels is not enough, so let's increase it. Let's go for 1000. And see, okay, a bit more, 1050. Okay, it looks fine. Okay, so we're going to leave our container now with this styling. Okay. All right, now let's go inside our container and build a header for our website. So the header is going to consist of a title or brand for the website and also a search box. So let's click on escape to close the CSS window. Okay, so let's create a header. So it's going to be a div and we're going to give it an ID header. Okay, and inside the header, let's start with the title. So our title is going to be a link. Okay, but let's place this inside a div because we're going to need to position this later on. So it's easy to use a div for this. Okay, and we're going to give it an ID, title or brand. Okay, and now we can place our link in there. And let's write some text there, maths the fun way. Okay, so we can give our link an href if we want to. All right, it is common practice to place the brand link or text inside a heading. Okay, so let's do that before adding any styling to our link. Okay, all right, so now we are ready to start styling our link so that it looks like this. Okay, so to do that, let's go to the styling sheet and add a new line there. Okay, so this time we are going to access the links inside headings H1s. Okay, so it's going to be H1 space anchor. Okay, and let's have curly brackets. We're going to place our styling. So first of all, let's change the font size to 40 pixels, for example. Let's go for 50. That looks okay. And also, let's change the font weight let's try 100. That looks okay. All right, now let's change the color. So we're going to go for the same purple color we see here. So let's use our ColorZilla for this. Okay, the color is copied to our clipboard now, and now we can see it. Okay, and now let's change the text decoration of our link. Okay, so we don't want it to be underlined, and to do that we're going to use text decoration and we're going to set that to none. Okay, and now you can see that our link is not underlined. All right, now let's move to our search box. The search box is going to be a div where we're going to place a form consisting of a text input and a submit button. So if we go to our index.html file and just following the brand div inside the header, we're going to create another div. Okay, and we're going to give it an ID search box. Okay, and let's place a form inside the div. Okay, and our form is going to have a method of get. So by using the get method, if we make the form functional using PHP, the address bar is going to show the inputs inside the form. Okay, all right, so inside our form we're gonna create a first input. which is going to be of type text. Okay. And we're going to give it a class text that we're going to use to style this input. And we're going to create another input for the submit button. And this time it's going to be of type submit. Okay. And we're going to give it a value of search a topic. Okay. And now you can see our form there. Okay. So the search box actually is still inside the container div. But the reason why we see this is because we gave a height for our container. So if we take that out, now we can see everything inside the container. Now let's start styling our search box. So first of all, we want the search box to float to the right of the header. Okay. So let's select our search box using its ID. And we're going to use the float property that we're going to set to right. And now our search box should flow to the right. Okay. So our search box now is floating to the right, but there is an issue. We've got a line break there right after the brand. Okay. And the reason why is because the brand is a block element and it's not a floating element. So to fix this, we're going to make the brand elements float to the left. Okay. So let's select our brand element or our title using its ID brand. And now we are going to make it float to the left. And now we can see our search box at the same level as our brand div. Okay. So this one is floating to the left and this one is floating to the right.